I have uploaded a 47-minute video on the new abortion laws. A lot of people, though they're very intelligent, very educated, yet at the same time don't know anything about the law. And the claim was that the new law in New York and what Virginia was proposing is no different than the law under Roe v. Wade. However, if you do not know the definition, what in a legal document, the definition of each one of these words. He said that it has not changed. One word, the definition of one word is allowing for abortion up to the time of birth or after birth. One word, definition of one word. And the definition of that word may have been different under Roe v. Wade, but now it's been expanded. Whether this one word basically means for any reason at all whatsoever. And it's more than just that. The amount of physicians that are attending has changed. So that's a lie, down to one. And this one physician could be totally pro-abortion. As far as they're concerned, abortion for any reason at any time. That's changed. And also another word was struck from must to shall in regard to life-saving equipment. Should a child be born alive, there must be life-saving equipment available because you must save that life. Now it's changed to shall, which means shall be available. It's not necessary. It can be available. The mother can decide whether it's used or not. So it doesn't matter how intelligent the person you're listening to is, unless they really know what they're talking about. Because, yes, I was a paralegal. I know a little more about a legal document, and within a legal document, it will tell you the definition of that word. That's why Bill Clinton said it depends on what is. Every word, because the definition in a legal document can be different than what you or I were in a discussion, what we think that word means. Must be read as defined in that document. Because of the change of the meaning of that one word, it allows for abortion at any time for any reason whatsoever. And we still think it's the life of the mother or the mother's health will be severely damaged. No, no, no. This one word. There's enough in that 47-minute video that it's going to explain all this in detail. I'm trying to get out to the public what legal documents mean, that you can't just read it and then you read on the web. Well, it's the exact same. It's no different than what Roe v. Wade stated. You can't just read that on the internet and think that you know everything and that that's true. No, changes have been made. This is like I've read legal documents when Trump's father owned the company. They were brought to court. They were picked basically by the government because they were the big guys. The Martin Luther King assassination, they were still rioting in the streets. So there was a lot of unrest. And people on welfare were not being allowed into buildings because then there wasn't such a thing as Section 8 housing, where the government pays the housing directly. Back then, you got your welfare check and then you had to pay the landlord. Well, people weren't paying the landlord, so landlords didn't want to rent to certain people, and a lot of them were minorities. And it ended without a finding. It basically, the only witness they had said that he was getting paid to say that Trump would not allow minorities into his building. When you read the entire document, all the news surrounding it, the articles, he had lots of buildings for wealthy people, and he had buildings for poor people. And the claim was that he was not renting to minorities. Minority went in and they looked at him and said, we don't have any room. Well, it's true they didn't have any room because the buildings he had that were affordable, that were for minorities, like I could move in, I might be able to afford. I wouldn't be able to afford the wealthy buildings. That's my dog, Teddy. There was no room left because they were all full. So they made it look like he was rejecting minorities. But if you read the entire document, the whole court proceedings, and some of it is redacted, but enough of it, after you read it, you realize that no, the reason why he was not found guilty of anything is because that wasn't true. He wasn't refusing to rent to people who were minorities. And this is a time when his father owned all the buildings. He was very young. He was just working for his father. It had nothing to do with him. His father decided to build more buildings for the wealthy because you make more money, and he had less buildings for people who are not so wealthy, which includes the minority population. But the government basically said, look, we need somebody to take a dive. So if we take the big guy down, then these riots will stop. See, what I did with this stuff, with the New York and the Virginia bill, I looked at the bill, I read the bill, and it's only part of a bill. It's like pork attached to a bill. That's what it is. They slip it into a bill. And the bill was basically about district court proceedings. And there's this little bit about abortion. But you have to go and read the document itself. And because I know how I've typed up these documents, I formulated these documents, I go to the law library to get case, to cite case, all this. I was at the law library all the time. I know how to read this stuff. But it also is, I'm trying to tell you that when I'm telling you something, it is from experience and working with this stuff and knowing how to read things. And don't just go to the web and pull up an article and have the article tell you, oh, it's just the same. You know what? It's not the same. You got to go to the actual document and read it, and you have to know how to understand it. Legal jargon. So no, as smart as this guy is, some of you probably watch him, not everybody. He doesn't have a huge following. And some people think that they're smarter than they are. And he's a conservative, by the way, but he talks like he's a liberal because he even believes that felons should be able to vote. And because if felons vote, and even if you're a rapist or a murderer, you won't necessarily vote for the candidate that's going to be lenient or create laws that are in favor of rapists and murderers. Really? You're a rapist and a murderer, and you committed these heinous crimes, right? And if you're allowed to vote in prison, you're going to say, no, I want people to be safe. Even though I committed these crimes, I didn't want other people who committed these crimes to get away with it. That they're going to be rational and they've come back to their senses and they're sane, even though they've committed terrorist attacks and rapes. Just like when they asked Bernie Sanders, should terrorists who've killed people and rapists be allowed to vote? Yes, and in prison. This guy said, he says, you can make exceptions for a few things. Well, now you're talking like a lefty. Oh, right, here and there we'll make it. Oh, no, you can't vote, but you can. You allow the felons to vote in prison, and you just said you'd allow them to vote if they committed rape and murder. It's kind of hard for me to believe that this guy is even a conservative. He's one of those intellectuals that gives you all these different scenarios, and they kind of spin around and around and around, and you're kind of lost after you hear them talk because they don't get to the point. I talk a lot, but I get to the point, and I call bullshit when it's bullshit. If something is wrong, I say it's wrong. I don't all these gray areas. I understand sometimes there are gray areas, but people who have committed murder and terrorists will not necessarily vote for a law that is lenient or helps terrorists or rapists. What are you talking about? You can't dance around that. There are certain things that are absolute. There are certain things that when a monarch or ruler has to make a decision and the decision has to be, whether it's right or wrong, it must come down. They can't be wishy-washy. They can't vote present 99% of the time. They have to make a decision, an absolute decision. Some things are clearly right and are clearly wrong. If they've done their time and then they get out and they show that they've been reformed, he believes that it helps them participate in the system. Maybe something else. If they're a convicted terrorist or a rapist or a mass murderer, maybe something else. But these people probably shouldn't even be getting out of prison at all whatsoever. Make them feel good that they're participating in the system. There are a lot of other things. And if they've done their time and they've reformed, the reason why they go to prison and lose their rights is because they've done something wrong. And that's a part of the punishment. So this guy, he's got about 23,000 followers. He's a lot older than I am. I don't know, he's probably close to 70 or something like that. But some people think that they're so intelligent. And yet, see the poison of the universities and the way they think in universities, where they can make something that is clearly wrong right by their jargon, by their academic jargon. They dance around the subject. Even he's poisoned by it, even though he's a Trump supporter. And I was like, you people, and he'll talk for over an hour. Yet it's like I'm listening for over things that are what are you talking about? You're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, and that's clearly wrong and bullshit. If you want to watch my videos from now on, I will have long videos and I'll have a lot of information because I go into history on a certain subject. I will tell you about something that's not just happening here, but different places in the world. There's a lot of information. So if you want to take the time and watch those long videos, do that. This is a short video basically telling you about my experience, why I know what I do, how I look at things, how I investigate things, how I know what sites are real and what sites are bogus. Some sites have good information that's right, and then they have some bogus stuff slipped in, and you really know how to read it to know what's the bogus part. And you have to keep searching for the website that's really going to tell you the truth. And Google and the algorithms favor the left. So even when you go on the internet, it's hard for you to get to the truth. And you have to know how to search and keep searching for the truth. So when you come to me, this is what you're getting, okay? There is a right and there is a wrong. There is good and there is bad. People get kicked off the path, and I understand they can come back on the path. I believe in forgiveness, but when things are wrong, they're wrong. And that way you can tell the people who have done things that are wrong, this is wrong. It's not acceptable in civil society. If you want to get back on the path, this is what you need to do. And Trump is actually helping prisoners, former prisoners, work themselves back into society. People who haven't committed these heinous crimes that have changed, have turned over a new leaf and want to work themselves back in society. But they're not talking about all these good things Trump is doing. They're only talking about this investigation and this collusion that he may have said, stop this. Well, you want to know something? If someone, you worked your way, you won the election, and you won it fairly, and people are lying about you and are arresting your friends and the people that helped you and you're around you that are good people. And they are trying to get you with evidence that's been fabricated. The dossier was fabricated and paid for by Hillary Clinton, and Mueller presided over the whole Uranium One scandal. Putin loves Maduro in Venezuela, who's destroying his people and mowing them down with tanks. Putin's friend. Why would Trump be friends with Putin? The left sides with socialism. They like that. So it's the left that's friends with Putin and has all the ties with Putin. And even Ted Kennedy, Putin was working for the KGB. Ted Kennedy was working with Soviet Russia, meddling, which is having them meddle in our elections to stop Reagan from getting reelected. The Democrats have been doing this since the dawn of time. I have a video called Meddler in Chief about Barack Obama and his meddling. Hardly anybody watched it. Usually if I put Obama in the title or his face on a thumbnail, nobody clicks on it. I wonder why. And there's also a video I have that's quite informative, the plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton. What it's about, and Obama's the head of the snake. And I really need to change that title to what it's about. This is about the information, that the actual evidence that came out in an official report about a year and a half ago about how when Trump said he was being spied on. Well, this is the evidence. And I lay it all out. And it was Admiral Mike Rogers who went to Trump and told him, you're being spied on. That's why he moved his campaign to Trump Towers. But I talked about this over a year and a half ago because I read the reports. And you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm this girl who doesn't know what I'm talking about. I already put this out. I should have titled it, Trump was right, he was spied on. But that sounded a little too simplistic. It was really the plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton, and this is how they were going to do it, by making Trump look like the criminal. And that's what they're doing, because they have to keep everyone's attention on Trump and him saying, as you would say, I didn't do anything wrong, and they're going to indict me? Is there any way you can stop this? Well, it's in his authority to fire Mueller. That wasn't obstructing justice, yet they keep telling you it is, just like Goebbels. You keep putting out a lie, a big lie enough, and you keep saying it, people will believe you. That's what they're employing, the tactics of Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Hitler. If you want to know all the tactics that the Democrats employ, just look at Soviet Russia, look at Hitler, look at what his team of SS men did. And that's what they're doing. That's who they follow. So of course you would say, is there any way to stop this? But it was in his authority under the Constitution. And they keep saying he doesn't. He's destroying the Constitution. He's destroying what America means. No, you are. You're the ones who want to take down the Constitution. And you are not even following the Constitution. You're not even letting him do his job and save America from what Barack Obama did, because he hates America and he wanted to break everything possible. Dismantle the military. You can, if you want to get a free sex change, you can go into the military and the government will pay for your sex change. That isn't what the military is about. If you need a sex change, there's somewhere else to go to. The military has a specific job of protecting this country. His job is to protect the borders. He has every right to build that wall. He has every right to build that wall. That is not unconstitutional. And recently, it's just came out today that children are being rented and sold in all these countries in Central America are doing this. It's come out. It's a fact. And that's why we need to stop this. And you Democrats are saying, oh, these poor children who've been sold and dragged for thousands of miles and then sold into sex slavery or just used for people to get into this country. You Democrats, you're still the party of slavery and you don't care because you want the vote. And these children are pawns. And this needs to stop. And this just came out this morning. This is a freaking fact, okay? They talked to the mayor of El Paso all about it. Anyway, there's your facts. I hope this wasn't too long. Okay, 21 minutes. All right. Goodbye, everyone.